Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Education tonight, Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. This meeting is now called to order. Smith, will you please take roll call?
Yes. Mr. Mukama,
Here.
Mr. Rich,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Miss Weems,
Here.
Miss Cummings,
Here.
I myself here, Miss Green.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next item is Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight we will be led by Mr. Mukamo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving to the next item on our agenda, it is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Thank you. I move the Board of Education approve the agenda for today, Tuesday, May 5th, 2020, as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I second.
I think I got Mrs. Weems, right? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda as written by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Weems. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Mrs. Smith, will you do roll call vote, please?
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Miss Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Mukama,
Yes.
Miss Weems,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
I myself, yes, Miss Green.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving to the next item, which is announcements. Again, welcome to the May 5th Farmington Board of Education meeting. Please understand that there may be some glitches during our virtual school board meeting. We have experienced some bandwidth issues and connections being lost. If that happens, those members will rejoin the meeting. As all of our members are participating remotely, I am formally giving voting rights to all board members for remote voting. The next meeting of the Board of Education will be held on May 19th at 6:00 p.m. The meeting is open to the public and will be cablecast live on TV 10. Public comment is available via email at info@fpsk12.net or via phone at 248-426-5000. Public comments will be shared after items from the secretary. Next item on our agenda is items from the secretary, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Miss Green. We received correspondence from Miss Green regarding the credit, no credit. We also have Office of Head Start, full enrollment policy questions and answers. Judy Miller seeing the board during the meeting. We also had another correspondence, Office of Head Start support regarding supporting emergency child care during COVID-19 crisis. Manugian, a special invitation to a virtual town hall on education with her state rep. Correspondence from Julie Poison regarding the IT outstanding contract. Respondents correspondence from Jim White regarding the announcements of the furlough, Kish Spirit graduation, seniors, Jim White, background for FCL board decision to furlough some staff. Communications are acknowledged, and when appropriate, a response is provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Moving to the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. Good evening, and please understand again that there may be some glitches during our virtual school board meeting. We have experienced some loss of connectivity, but if that happens, members will rejoin. At this point, I have received one public comment, which I will read. According to the board memorandum from the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, an IT contract with the Oakland ISD was approved and signed in December 2017. Under the terms of that contract, there was a designated transition period with full implementation to be implemented by July 1, 2018, the beginning of the 2018-19 school year. How and why was an approved contract not completed per the terms of the contract? What department was in charge of implementing this contract? What administrative policy and procedure either failed or was not followed to bring this issue to the superintendent and board in July 2018? Why was the board focused primarily on the timing of this decision in the midst of the coronavirus epidemic? Why wasn't the timing issue focused on why, at the end of the 2019-2020 school year, is the board involved in an approved and signed contract from 2017 that was supposed to be completed by 7/1/2018, almost 2 years ago? Instead of asking if the board wants to honor a decision and contract from 2.5 years ago, shouldn't the administration and the board be asking why the cost-saving contract wasn't completed 2 years ago? Is there any accountability in this district? Dave York. Are there any other public comments? Seeing no other public comments, we will close public comment and move forward to our next item, which is district updates. And tonight we have an update from the Farmington Hills Education Foundation with Mrs. Jennings. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We wanted to update you on some of the changes that obviously we're all undergoing right now, and also to let you know that work is still going on. So my first item is for our scholarship process. As you all are aware, there are several different scholarships that, a number of different scholarships the foundation helps manage along with the district. And we had to pivot to a mailed application process because in the past, that had always been a process that students dropped their applications off at a designated time at their counselor's office. So that was changed and communicated. We did do an extra mailing to all of our graduating students, the foundation did, to let them know that we had extended the application deadline. It was originally supposed to be in March, and we extended it to April the 20th. And postcards were mailed to all students, letting them know that, as well as it went into the letters from principals as part of their updates to their teams. So we have received, they had the option to email their applications or to mail them. We received 36 applications in the mail. So we're excited that all of our I believe that at least the students have applied for all of the scholarships that are available, which is good. One of the things, we're all learning a lot through this process that we're learning is that looking towards the future, do we create a completely online process so that we don't have to pivot, that students would already be applying online and there wouldn't be any additional steps, that the application would go right into a system where they could be then vetted. So that's something that we'll be looking at over this coming summer with district staff. The other thing that we have focused on in this time is on our support of Operation Common Good, which is underneath the umbrella of the Education Foundation. We have done several Facebook campaigns to help promote families, both to know where they can get help, as well as where to take help if you want to offer something. We have giving boxes, which are boxes sort of like if you're familiar with a little library. They're like a little library, but instead they're for products, for paper products, for cleaning products, as we understand that many people are challenged during this time and other times. These boxes, I will point out, were not created because of the COVID crisis. They've been in place for about just over a year. We had a team of kids that helped put those together to support Operation Common Good. The Hackbots were instrumental in building a number of them. So they're located at Longacre Elementary School, Lanigan Elementary School, Maxfield Training Center, Beachview Elementary, and Power Middle School. So all of those locations are available, and volunteers are free to drop items off to donate. And in fact, I've had a couple people tell me they tried to donate at one time and it was full. So our community once again is stepping up to help folks. And the foundation has led an effort to push out that information, both so that folks know that help is available, as well as they know folks that want to do something can have an active way to offer some support. So we will be exploring other ways to help Operation Common Good, because we anticipate, as I've discussed with the Operation Common Good Advisory Board, that while our requests for help at this time have not been overwhelming, we've been able to accommodate them. We anticipate that as this crisis continues and lengthens and folks are out of work, that help, the request for help will increase. So we want to try and create some resources available as we head towards the end of the school year of what we can do to help those families. And just a reminder, Operation Common Good is not, sometimes there's a conception out there that it is a program that supports homeless students. While certainly homeless families are a part of our support, that is not the primary client, I guess you would say. It's really there as a bridge to help any family that needs help. And there are families with less resources, not necessarily that they're homeless, that need some additional support. And sometimes it's temporary, which Operation Common Good has that flexibility to offer that in a way that more formal programs sometimes don't. So just wanted to remind everybody that it is for any family that needs something. For a variety of circumstances, it can help. And normally those requests would go to Hattie Lagan, and they still can. We often get requests that are surfaced from teachers or administrators. Obviously, without kids in school, that might not be the case. But she is the point person, so and she is available through the district site. So if you have a question or would like know of a family that needs some help, please let Hattie know. Next thing on my list is to just let everyone know that we have let teachers know that they can defer their grants, obviously, because all of our projects take place in buildings, have been deferred. So instead of them having to wrap up their project by December of 2020, they will be able to tell us when they'll be able to do it. We want it to be flexible, offer maximum flexibility, because we all know that we don't know. We don't really know what's going to happen next and when people are going to be back and what that's going to look like. So the grants that we made in February will be available for teachers and organizations whenever we return. And the last thing on my list is just to let the group know that the board know that our foundation board will be meeting this month to really have a longer conversation around what can we do. Our goal is to support innovation in education. And we've done that through our grant process primarily and the support of enrichment programs. Well, as we move to online learning, and there is question what that's going to look like in the coming months and the coming school year. What do we need to have in our toolkit that could support innovative learning that is more individual child-based when enrichments are not available? So I don't have an answer for that, but I wanted to share that it is something that we are considering. What do we need to do to accomplish that? Or how can we offer that help? Or what do teachers need? So we'll be reaching out to teachers and to administrators and district staff to seek some feedback to add to that conversation that we're having at the board level. So that is my list, and I'm open to any questions anybody might have.
Mrs. Wayne.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a little bit of feedback on my end. Do you guys hear that? Okay. Looks like it may have gotten better. It's clear that you're still working and still doing a lot of good. Really appreciate the work around Operation Common Good. And I really appreciate the flexibility that you're providing to folks as well. It's thoughtful. I know for the scholarships, I got a couple come in between 11 and 12 a.m. on April 20th. So I think people definitely appreciated the extensions, and I know that teachers and staff will for the grants. So just thank you for the work that you're doing there.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. Nancy, again, great job. Thank you for everything you're doing. Question for you. We are coming up, I know you guys are planning the normal event that we have for fundraising coming up by, what is it, near October, November timeframe?
It's in November.
Thank you. Are we still looking at doing that, or any updates on that just for the public so they can?
So the data is still out there, and we, as in with many things in this time, we don't really have a good answer. In that same board meeting, when we're going to talk about what does innovation need to look like, or what could we offer, we'll also be talking about what would we need to do if we canceled that event or replaced it with something that was more virtual. Would we do those of you who have been to our event, raffle baskets are a big part of it. Would we take those online? And you have to do it ahead of time and get a different license from the state. But would we do that instead, along with something else to make it virtual? Would we do a pay-per-view sort of thing for music and create some sort of, because that's another big part of the event. So we'll be sort of analyzing what are the elements of that party and how could we make them virtual and have somebody still want to make a contribution to participate in that. And I don't have a good answer, but it is certainly something on my mind, because given everything that I'm reading, there could be high likelihood that gathering in large numbers, which, we have 500 to 600 people at that event, might not be possible in November.
Okay, I appreciate it. I was just glad to hear you guys are at least thinking about that. Thank you again.
Mrs. Cummings?
Well, good evening, Nancy.
Hi.
Thank you. I'll echo what my colleagues have said. Thank you for what you do and the foundation. Thank you for the update. It's great to hear that you're looking down the road. And I think I just have more of a comment. The foundation has been so wonderful in supporting our students and teachers. And there is a big question mark. We don't know what the future is going to look like. But I believe 100%. I think that there are things the foundation could do to support teachers in a virtual environment or whatever that looks like. I'm not saying that's what it will be because we don't know. But I do appreciate that you're looking down the road and brainstorming because I do think that there are supports that the foundation would be able to provide. No, what those are specifically, I don't know, but I do think that there are opportunities there. So thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions?
I have something, Miss Green.
Mrs. Smith?
Miss Jennings, thank you so much for looking forward and ahead with what's going on instead of just taking it day by day. I look forward to that event, and it was the first time that my youngest daughter was ever to take part, and she was looking forward to it as well for next year in November. If there's anything that we as a board can do to help you, brainstorm or what have you, to continue this event, because it's not only something that helps the students, it's also something that we all get to have an event where we can all get together. And during these times, we do need to be able to get together and embrace each other and have those relationships. But if there's anything that we can do, feel free to reach out. Thank you for looking way in advance and making plans. I like the virtual idea, but nothing better than being there and enjoying the food, the conversations, and the band. So thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you very much, Mrs. Jennings. We appreciate your time and your update. Always exciting things to hear what's going on and looking forward, as Mrs. Smith and some of the others have said.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you to everything that's, as a parent, as a resident, I can only say thank you for all the hard work of the FPS team. It truly has been amazing in such fraught circumstances.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right.
Moving forward on our agenda, the next item is discussion items, and the first item is Oakland Schools budget resolution. I believe Mrs. Kaminsky, our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, is handling that.
Sorry, forgot to unmute myself. Good evening. So as required by state law, each ISD has to provide a budget of their general fund operations to the local school districts by May 1st each year. And then by June 1st of each year, each local board of education has to either approve or support or disapprove Oakland Schools budget, in our case. So on April 17th, we were presented the Oakland Schools budget at our school business officials meeting. And I'm just going to highlight a few factors for their general fund budget. So on the revenue side, they're projecting a property tax revenue increase of 3.25%, and that's due to growth in taxable values across the county. This increase does provide additional funding for Oakland Schools, as property tax revenue is one of their major components of revenue. They've also included an across-the-board salary increase of 1%, plus step movement, and they have hard caps that remain in effect for their insurance costs, with an estimated increase of approximately 3%. So since their budget was prepared in February, early March, and was approved by their board, or it was presented to their board, obviously none of the effects of COVID have been taken into account. So this information will most likely be approved by their board, and then they'll make significant amendments to their budget next fiscal year, as we know more information. So one of the exciting things, though, that they developed this year is the Literacy Essentials Oakland Initiative, and it's shortened to LEO. And this is in response to declining third grade reading levels on the MSTEP assessment over the last 3 years. So the program focuses on professional learning for teachers and administrators, a literacy coach in residence program, personalized action plans for each participating district, and a viable literacy curriculum with a balanced assessment program. So Farmington is participating in this program with the ISD. I believe all of the local school districts are. So we're looking forward to that new program in the upcoming year. So Oakland has provided all of the budgets, their funds in their budget document, which I provided the link in my memo regarding the Oakland Schools budget. And so the goal would be to pass a resolution at the next meeting on May 19th. And typically you voted in support of this budget, but by voting in support or disapproving it, it does not stop their process. So I can provide any feedback to Oakland Schools or ask any questions that you may need more information on prior to you voting on that resolution. Next board meeting.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Mrs. Kaminsky. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving to our next item on discussions is Oakland Schools Board of Education election designate resolution, and that's being presented by Mrs. Smith, who is our board secretary, as well as Oakland County School Board Association trustee. Mrs. Smith.
Okay, well, first let me clarify some things because I don't want anybody to get it mixed up. I am on the board of directors. I am not on the Oakland School Board. So I want to get that straight so that, because it has caused some problems in the past. So as of right now, we do have only one person running. There's he has filed for his seat, and he's an incumbent, and he's running unopposed. George Elhert, and he is filed for the candidate for the 6-year term seat, and it's open for the 2020 Oakland Schools Board of Education. He is an incumbent, and he, like I said, he's running unopposed. Oakland School Board members are elected by an electoral body composed of one person designated by the Board of Education, Education, each constituent school district. And the revised school code describes that each constituent school district board must designate a representative to the electoral body by adopting a resolution that will, 1, designate a person to vote in the election on behalf of the local district, which is your board. 2, direct the designee as to which candidate the local district board supports to fill the open seat. 3, direct the designee to vote for the individual, at least on the first ballot taken by the electoral body. The designated electors must cast their ballots at the election scheduled to take place between 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Monday, June 1st, 2020 at Oakland Schools. The revised school code prohibits the acceptance of absentee ballots. Please note we will be notified if an alternative voting location is deemed necessary due to the governor's executive order. So that's it.
Thank you. Are there any questions? And thank you for the correction on the title, Mrs. Smith.
You're
Sorry,
welcome.
I was going right off what was on the agenda, but I have notified Mrs. Buckley and we'll make that correction. So. Thank you. Okay, seeing no other discussion, we will move now to action items. And the first item on the agenda is the appointment of Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Strategic Projects. And that would be Dr. Herrera.
Yes, thank you. We have Jeff here with us tonight. Jeff orchestrated and helped arrange the interviews for the candidates, and I'd like to let him introduce the candidate and maybe fill you in on the process. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Dr. Herrera, and good evening, Board of Education members and the community watching. It's my pleasure and privilege to introduce Dr. Kelly Kaufman, who we're recommending for appointment as our next assistant superintendent for innovation and strategic projects. As part of Dr. Herrera's efforts to reorganize central office to meet our upcoming and future needs, a need was identified for this position. It was posted in early March. There were nearly 50 applicants for the position with outstanding backgrounds. The interviews were conducted by teams of district staff, ranging all the way from teacher leaders to principals to central office staff, representing all grade levels, general and special education. There was an additional outside interview conducted by a partner that the district works with, and the comments that came back from our district stakeholders and the feedback overall was uniformly enthusiastic about the possibility of bringing Dr. Kaufman on board. Some of the comments our staff made were that she was the person that could take us to the next level. Everyone recognized her passion for thinking beyond the structures of education to find ways to help every student succeed. Everyone was blown away by her depth of knowledge and experience. And I'll share a little bit. I know you had it in your board packet, but she started her career as a teacher for adjudicated females, has been a middle school math and special ed teacher, a principal at multiple levels, an ISD director, supervisor, assistant superintendent, a district superintendent, is currently the assistant superintendent for learning and innovation at a large ISD. So she brings just a massive depth of experience, has her doctorate in educational leadership from Eastern Michigan University. And the last thing I'll share with you in terms of introducing Kelly is Dr. Kaufman is what people who have had the opportunity to work with her couldn't say enough about how quickly we should act with the opportunity to bring her aboard. These were some of the quotes. Can make others better than they imagine they can be, builds up the people around her, looks ahead into the future to see where we can be in education, is a visionary leader, was a positive influence in everything she touched, and that Farmington is in a great position to have the opportunity to hire her. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions or let you talk with Dr. Kaufman, who I think is here.
I think what we're going to do is go for the motion and then have discussion, and we'll have Dr. Kaufman talk during that time as well. So is there a motion for the approval of Dr. Kaufman? Mr. Mukamal.
I move that the Board of Education approve the appointment of Dr. Kelly Kaufman as Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Strategic Projects.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Mukamal for the approval of appointment of Kelly Kaufman as the Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Strategic Projects, supported by Mrs. Cummings. And we'll go into discussion. Mrs. Kaufman, would you like to just say anything to begin before we have board members comment?
I hope, can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Awesome. Okay, first time using this format, so I appreciate your patience. Wow, Jeff, thank you for sharing that information. And you don't always get to hear all of, what other people think about you or what you say, but I have to tell you that I absolutely enjoyed my time meeting with your staff. We had great conversations. They were definitely, like I said to them, I could talk about this all day, every day, and I think they could too. And so it felt really good to have conversations where we're thinking big picture and really focused on each and every child and really having our shared beliefs about how we can do that together. So absolutely thrilled to even be considered to become part of such a fantastic team and such a fantastic school district.
Thank you. I know typically we have comments after the vote as well, but board members, are there any questions prior to the vote? Mrs. Weems.
Yeah, thank you for considering us. Very impressive resume. Was great to read through. I just did have some overall kind of due diligence questions before we head into the vote. Would like to understand a little bit more about our interview process and whether there were any internal candidates that were considered.
Dr. Herrera, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that.
I can respond to that. We had, I believe, 3 internal candidates, and based on my knowledge and experience of their work in the district, I did not consider them as viable applicants.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a question. To follow up on Ms. Weems, I too heard that there were internal candidates and they were not even offered an interview. And I'd like to know why was that not feasible?
Well, once again, I think as my knowledge of the candidates, I've been in district for several months. I'm very familiar with our candidates' work, and I actually, led and developed the position in the district through the restructure of the organization. As I looked at possible candidates, the candidates we interviewed were clearly had much more experience in central office. The candidates we interviewed had a lot more depth and knowledge of the work that we'll be doing. And there was just, there seemed to be a large separation between their technical knowledge and experience in central office than our internal candidates. The one thing that I would admit that I wasn't familiar with and wasn't, I guess was not on my radar is there seems to be a practice in the district that any internal candidate that applies receives an interview. I would say that I missed that point, and I missed that routine or practice in the district. So certainly would have welcomed them and offered them an interview had I known that was the district's practice. But as far as any internal applicants being considered for the position, I think I would remind the board of the position you were in when you were looking for a superintendent candidate. You chose an outside candidate as well. I think it's probably for the same reason. So as we go through the interview process, my job is to seek out and find the best candidate. Certainly be respectful of our internal candidates, but I think I've done that in this particular case, clearly. So the other thing I would like to comment on, and I know we'll be talking about this in the future, is what are we doing to better prepare our internal candidates for central office positions in the future? How will we groom them? What type of experiences we'll give them? I would welcome an opportunity to have that conversation with the board in the future. But at this point in time, I'm very, very confident in we have a person that will actually help move the district forward. And we have a good opportunity to bring her on board. And I would strongly recommend that the board consider her hire.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. And very great resume that you have. And I just want to speak to what Dr. Herrera just said a moment ago. Dr. Herrera, you're right. You came in from the outside. There are reasons for that. And I believe you should build your team the way you should build it for the betterment of this district. I want the best candidates possible here, not the best Farmington Public School candidates. I want the best candidates. And I commend you for what you brought to the table so far. I look for more of the best people, whether they are male, female, black, white, short, tall, internal, external. I think we all want what's best for this district, and you're continually proving that to us by the quality of people that you're bringing forth for us to vote on. I just want to say thank you and appreciate everything you're doing.
Mr. Mukmel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Dr. Herrera, this makes 3 for you, right? We have Margaret Hendrickson and Felicia Venables, and now Dr. Coffin. And will enthusiastically vote to support Dr. Coffin's hire. I completely agree with what my colleague, Mr. Johnson, said. I think that if the contribution we get from our new assistant superintendent of innovation is anything like what I've seen from Mrs. Hendrickson and from what I've been told have already been significant contributions by Ms. Venables, I think the school district is going to be very, very well positioned for educational excellence as we move forward.
Mrs. Cummings.
Just a couple comments. I want to thank the team that was involved in the process of vetting candidates, reviewing resumes and materials and vetting candidates and interviewing. I am incredibly impressed with Dr. Coffin's resume, the depth, the breadth of experience that you hopefully will bring to our district. I think will benefit our district, our students, our families, and that's exciting for me. And the other thing that I find very exciting is what I hear in the comments that were shared about you and what you've said is you sound like a collaborator. You sound like someone who's excited to work with staff and generate ideas and move forward. And that's really exciting to me. I appreciate that there were internal candidates. I think that's important. And Dr. Herrera, I appreciate what you've said about offering the opportunity for internal candidates to have experiences, to grow and learn, because that's really important too. So anyone, any of those internal candidates, I hope they've had an opportunity to talk to you or that they reach out to you, Dr. Herrera, if they haven't yet, to talk about those opportunities. So thank you for that.
Any other comments? I'm just going to make one comment and then I'll say something after our vote as well. I just want to say that after the interviews, I had the opportunity to hear from many people that were engaged in those interviews and the passion and excitement that they felt walking out of the interviews. And the comments that I heard were, we need to hire her now, don't walk away. So that was pretty exciting to hear and see that enthusiasm amongst our own staff. So, all right. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we will move to our vote. Let's do a roll call vote.
Ms. Weems,
Yes.
Ms. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Mukama,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Absolutely, yes.
I myself, yes. Ms. Green,
Yes. Thank you. That gives us our quorum and welcome to Farmington Public Family, Dr. Coffin.
Thank you so much. I can't even tell you how excited I am. So I just appreciate the opportunity. This is the work I love, and this is the work that I want to do. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to work with you and your, like I said, your amazing staff, families, and community. So looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any follow-up comments from board members? Follow-up comments? I just want to give you a word of advice, Dr. Coffin. You might want to really mark your telephone with Dr. Herrera's phone number, because I have a strong feeling as soon as the meeting's over, he's got tasks for you already. So you might want to just kind of like put that on pause. So, But welcome. We're excited to get started and really embrace our strategic plan and initiatives, and really look at where we're going to lead and take our students and our staff as leaders in a district, which is exactly where we as a board have been committed to. And so the pieces are all aligning, and I think the excitement is it's a true win for our entire district. So welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The next item under action items is nutrition with the servicing equipment bid. Mrs. Kaminsky and Mrs. Davis are here. Is there a motion regarding the equipment bid? Mr. Rich?
I move that the Board of Education approve the bid award as outlined in the April 17, 2020 letter from Angela Davis, Supervisor for Nutrition Services, for the purchase of serving equipment to Stafford Smith, Inc. in the amount of $145,976, funds to come from Nutrition Services Fund.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rich to approve the bid award as outlined in the April 17th, 2020 letter from Angela Davis, Supervisor for Nutrition Services, for the purpose of servicing equipment to Stanford Smith, Inc. in the amount of $145,976, funds to come from the Nutrition Service Fund, supported by Mrs. Weems. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Weems?
Just one question. Obviously, this is new equipment. Is there a reason why this wasn't covered as part of the, redesign of our cafeteria spaces when we were renovating buildings? Or is it, at that time, we just didn't think that these things needed to be replaced?
Well, not everything. Go ahead, Angie. You can.
Oh, as I said, at that time, we took our priorities of the kitchens that needed to be fixed first. At the time, these did not.
Okay. Just a quick question. Thank you. And then all of the funds are coming from the Nutrition Services Fund, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mrs. Smith, will you please do roll call vote?
Ms. Weems?
Yes.
Mr. Mukamal?
Yes.
Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
I myself, yes. Ms. Green?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for that presentation as well. Thank you. Moving to the next action item, which is the sale of Maxfield Training Center. Is there a motion? Mr. Rich?
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution authorizing the execution of the Second Amendment to the purchase agreement with the City of Farmington for the property located at 33,000 Thomas Street, Farmington. That's the Maxfield Training Center and Shiawassee Park, in the amount of $690,000, and waive the reading of the resolution.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Rich to approve the resolution authorizing the execution of the Second Amendment to the purchase agreement with the City of Farmington for the property located at 33000 Thomas Street, Farmington, known as the Maxfield Training Center and Shiawassee Park, in the amount of $690,000, and waive the reading of the resolution, supported by Mrs. Smith. Is there any discussion? Mr. Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a little background on this. Most of us know, but just kind of a recap for the public. This project started out initially with a sale price of $1.2 million. After a short negotiation after that, parties found out that they could not make money on it, and they came back to the school district and asked us to reduce the cost to $1 million. I was absolutely opposed to that, and I'll get into that in a moment. Following which, that deal fell apart for some understandable reasons. And the last thing we had on the table was an offer for $750,000. We're down to $690,000. And I'll be honest with you, this is the last time I really want to see this thing in front of us. When we negotiate deals along these lines, we are taking money, opportunities, whether it be buses, whether it be books, whether it be teachers, away from our kids here at Farmington Public Schools. I understand, and I want to do everything I can to work with not only Farmington Hills, but the city of Farmington as well. But this has been going on for 5, almost 6 years. And it's my understanding in this that at the end of, I believe it's 10 weeks, if this does not resolve, we just walk away from this. But what concerns me is all this time, we're going to walk away with somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000. I mean, this has got to happen. And I hope our friends in Farmington are looking at this and saying, we've got to get this done. Because quite honestly, at this stage of the game, our kids are losing here. Our kids are losing. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I just wanted to give the public some background perspective on this. Anytime you go from a building of 1.2 million down to 690,000, that's money that's taken away from our kids. So I just wanted to point that out. Again, not sure which way I'm voting, but they've got 10 weeks according to this contract, and this is it in my head. This is completely it. That's all I wanted to say.
Are there other comments or questions? Mr. Rich?
I just want to echo a lot of what Mr. Johnson has said. I frankly think, the fact that we have decreased the price this much is a shame. I just don't want to see. I want this property off our hands. I don't want to see it in front of us again.
Mr. Nokma?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question just for the Facilities and Finance Committee. What is the reason behind the reduction in price from $750,000 to $690,000?
If I might just bring to the board's attention that we do have Mrs. Abrams here tonight from Clark Hill, who's been representing the district in terms of negotiating the contract. So if there are questions for her as well, and certainly the Finance Committee, I'm certain can respond to this, but also I just wanted to make sure you're aware that Abrams is with us.
Mr. Nokma, are you good if we have Mrs. Abrams respond?
Of course.
I can answer that because I've been here from the beginning of it. Either way, whatever you prefer, Richard.
Perhaps Ms. Abrahams can answer.
So if I can also just back up for a minute, I agree with everything obviously Mr. Johnson just said. I just wanted to clarify also that the two agreements that fell through that were the 1.2 and the 1 million, which I wasn't really involved with, just so everyone's aware, wasn't with the city. I just want to make that clear. That was with private developers. An RFP went out and they were private developers. Then it fell through. The city came back with a letter of intent. We entered into a contract in June of 2019, as you know, for the $750,000. Plus, there's some other additional consideration also in the contract. Not necessarily monetary, but there's some monetary also. They entered into a First Amendment then because we were having issues, there was a lot of title issues with this property. And then when the city was doing their due diligence, they found environmental issues. These are not insurmountable environmental issues, and these were not environmental issues that could not be per se cured, but the city felt that they needed to cure it with money. and the cost was about $120,000. They came back to the district, asked the district through this amendment process to pick up the $120,000, and we came back with a recommendation that we said that was too much. We're not going to pick up the whole thing. Maybe we should split the cost in half, and that's where we came to the $690,000. So that's how we got to where we are today through the second amendment.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Dana, thank you very much. There's one thing we need to keep in mind with this as well. While the city was not the purchaser of the property, the million, or the start at 1.2 to 1 million, just so everybody is clear, the city is responsible for zoning. And what that means is if somebody wants to buy the property, but the city decides they don't want to zone a certain way, which is kind of what happened within the last go-round when we dropped it from 1.2 to 1 million. Even though the city itself was not the purchaser, they are a huge player in this because, again, their consent, their buy-in, nothing's going to happen. So I still stand by my comments. And again, Dana was correct in her statements. Even though they, being the city, did not have the purchase agreement with us, they were partnered with the purchaser to build condos and some other things. So I hope that clears some things up.
And I agree with Mr. Johnson's comment.
Mrs. Weems?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in here. I'm also, or have been at least for the past year, a member of the Building and Site Facilities Committee. And so have been a part of this. And I will reiterate what has previously been said. I'm not a fan of this. We have a history of accepting reductions in prices for our assets that I am not pleased with at all. I agree with previous comments that reductions are generally at the expense of this district and they're at the expense of our kids. I believe that the value of this property is more than what is being outlined here. But I am considering this not because I want to be done with the property and not because I want to be done with, having this land on our books. I am happy, more than happy, to dig my heels in and be stubborn if there are opportunities, I think, for us to get the most out of our assets and, bring in more dollars to this district and do more for kids. However, at this point, given our environment and what I expect to be the future environment for at least the next couple of years, I'm not sure that we'll be able to secure more than what we have here. So that's what I'm considering tonight as I vote.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members?
I have a comment, Ms. Green. I like to say I'm in agreement with all of my colleagues actually on this. This is actually a slap in the face. This is not helping our children. I'm sorry for that. This is not helping our children, nor is it helping our community. And how are people looking at us as a board that we're just pretty much giving away our property? I'm tired of seeing it myself, and I've only been on this board 3 years, and this is ridiculous that they just keep coming back and coming back and coming back, and there's always something that they're finding or whatever. So I'm not happy with this either.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Mrs. Abrams, I have a question too. I know it mentions portion of the Shiawassee Park. Can you specify which portion that is?
It's the part that's currently under lease with the city. So I don't have I apologize because all the information is in my office, all the great details that I don't have here in my house because I haven't been back to my office in several weeks. But the answer is there's a picture that was in the original offer, and also it's the part, and I know Terry Johnson knows a lot about it. We have a long-term lease with the city. It's the part that's under lease, so the lease will terminate and that will be sold to them. We haven't used that property for ourselves in a long time, and the lease isn't money generating. They've been using that for a long time.
Okay, and the other question I had is, so this offer, as I understand it and have read it, there would be no additional reductions for splitting environmental factor cost or any other unknown factors. This is as presented as sale.
Correct. So the only changes from the original offer and then the First Amendment is obviously the reduction in purchase price to the 690,000. The deposit that they put on deposit last June will become non-refundable and will be immediately provided to the district from the title company. So if they end up not closing, it's our money. The only contingency is their financing. But if they get, they're pretty confident they're going to get their financing. If they don't get financing, then they can walk away. We keep the $10,000. If they get the financing, they must close the earlier of securing the financing, or no later than 10 weeks from, assuming we pass that, if we pass it tonight, 10 weeks from tonight, which takes us to July 14th.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Muckamel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we know what the costs are of ownership of the building currently on an annual basis? What it costs us to just own it?
It's about $31,000 that we pay for upkeep, for utilities, to maintain it. So.
And do we know how many years it's been since the second private investor declined the offer?
They backed out in April of 19.
I'm sorry, what was that?
They backed out in April of 2019, the last one.
Okay.
April 2018, I think. Hold on. 19.
19.
19.
Mr. Johnson?
Yep. Pam, to answer your question about the part of the park, I believe if you look at the stairs that come down from downtown Farmington into that part of Shiawassee Park, that's the part that I believe was part of this deal as well.
Okay, thank you. I just want to get clarity on that.
And one other thing to Mr. Mokomo's question about the other party backing out, there was a death of the principal that caused a issue, and that is the reason that they backed out of the Second Amendment that council referred to in April of 2019.
Thank you.
Yeah, as far as the Shiawassee Park, it is the stairs and then the property that's right as you come down the stairs, that baseball field there. That's what I believe it is.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from board members? Seeing none, Mrs. Smith, will you please do roll call vote?
I'm sorry. Mr. Johnson?
Reluctantly, yes.
Ms. Weems?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Mukama?
Yes.
Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
I myself, no. Ms. Green?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving to the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that, one second here, the Board of Education accept the approval of the minutes from the April 21st, 2020 regular meeting as presented.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Johnson to approve the consent agenda, the minutes from the April 21st, 2020 regular meeting, supported by Mr. Rich. Any discussion? No discussion? Mrs. Smith, will you please do roll call vote again?
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Mukama,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings, Mrs. Cummings, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Weems,
Yes.
I myself, yes. Ms. Green,
Yes. Mrs. Smith, you set?
I got them all.
Okay, motion passes. We are now moving to our next item on the agenda, superintendent announcement. Dr. Herrera.
Thank you. Just one quick announcement. As the board's well aware, our school community and our staff and our students are still working and engaging in their learning, which has been very evident, but also like to, just give a big thanks to our parents. Once again, the feedback we're getting, we had the opportunity to meet with the PTA, PTSA presidents and the PTA council, and we had a lot of feedback from a parent perspective, and we clearly understand that this is also challenging to our parents as we begin to educate students in their homes. So we're going to continue to work with our parents to make sure we're meeting their needs to help support their children so that they can remain engaged throughout the next several weeks as we move through the school year, and then reflect on that in the future to provide an opportunity to learn how to continue to serve our parents as they support their children. So again, I just really appreciate the fact that everybody is, parents, staff, and students have gone into this with a good understanding that we're going to learn from it, we're going to grow from it, and we're all going to have to commit to a certain level of change behaviors if we're going to make it work. So great conversation with PTA and the council, and appreciated their time and feedback. And again, just I really appreciate and I'm very proud to serve a district where everybody is working so hard to serve our children. So all good news, even though challenging times from my perspective right now.
Thank you, Dr. Herrera. Any questions, comments? Moving to the next item on the agenda, which is our adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. So moved.
Madam President, is there I would like to say something. We did not acknowledge the fact that we lost a board member that we have for over 28 years. Jack Inch was a pillar of this community. His wife was a pillar of this community that worked at the LOP Credit Union. When you walked in there was conversation always. I don't know if many of our board members had the opportunity to know him or work with him, but I had that privilege. We lost someone that was near and dear and deep rooted in this community. And I want to say thank you to Jack Inch for your service as a board member for 28 years. And thank you for being in this community. And to Sandy, I am so sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I appreciate that. And certainly Mr. Inch was a dedicated board member and important member of our community. Our condolences do go to his family. So thank you for reminding us. We have lost former students as well as other teaching staff that have been tied to our district. We've all lost somebody very important through this entire COVID-19 virus, and we're all reeling from that pain of that. So certainly our condolences go to all of our families that have lost a loved one or someone that's very important to them or within our own community. And just a reminder that we all need to take care of each other and take care of ourselves and reach out to make sure everyone is connecting to everybody during these difficult times. Thank you. Is there a second?
So moved.
You got the first move, Mr. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Johnson to adjourn, supported by Mr. Mukamal. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Mrs. Smith, your final roll call vote for the evening.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Weems,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Mukamal,
Yes.
Ms. Cummings,
Yes.
I myself, yes. Ms. Green.
Yes, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.